One of the main advantages of learning Spanish is that it's a phonetic language. What does it mean? Well, in English, when you read a word that you have never read before, you don't know how to read it because it can be read in different ways. Do you see? In Spanish, this never happens. Each letter has a sound, so when you read a new word, you know exactly how to pronounce it. Some consonants do have different pronunciation, but it has to do with its position in the word and the letters around it. There are clear rules you can follow, and this is what we are learning on this video. Hola gente, soy Fede y vamos ahora mismo a aprender la pronunciación de las letras en español. Most of the letters in the Spanish alphabet are pronounced always in the same way, and the sound they produce is included in the letter's name. If you don't remember letters' names, check the previous video. There we saw the alphabet and how to spell words. Today we are working with the different sounds they can produce, right? Okay, let's see the letters that never change their sound. A, B, D, E, F, I, J, K, M, N, Ñ, O, P, Q, T, B. So we are not going to waste more time on these letters. We are going to focus on the ones that do change their sound depending on their location in the word or the surrounding letters. These are C, G, H, L, R, U, Y, and I'm going to include S and Z. Later, I'll tell you why. But before starting, let me talk about two weird letters in Spanish, W y X. The letter W is also pronounced always in the same way, but the sound is not included in the letter's name. In some regions, they call it W instead of W, and it makes sense because its shape is similar to B corta, but its sound is similar to U. Don't worry, anyway, it's the last frequent letter in Spanish, and we usually use it in words we borrow from English or other languages. Whiskey, show, taekwondo. The other remarkable exception is the letter X, because it has 4 possible sounds and none of them is included in its name. In most cases, it is pronounced as X, taxi, oxígeno, examen. Similar to English, right? Taxi, oxígeno, examen. And when it is at the beginning of the word, it sounds as an S. Sa, xenofobia, xilófono. The other 2 pronunciations of X are not used anymore, and they only survive in few surnames or places names. This explains the spelling of Mexico. But I'll make a brief video about it if you want, because it is really interesting, but it has to do with the history of the language, and now we are talking about phonetics. Okay, let's start with L and R. L and R are the only 2 letters in Spanish that change their sound when they are doubled. I wrote them in your headphones for you to remember. The famous rolling R is only pronounced in 3 cases. When we use 2 R's together, perro, torre, arroz. When the letter R is located at the beginning of a word, rojo, río, rosa. Or when it comes after N or L, sonrisa, alrededor. In all the other cases, we pronounce ra, arte, original, pero. Pero, Enrique, esto no es un perro. Parece una rata. Here we have the 3 cases of rolling R. Doubled in perro, at the beginning in rata, after N or L in Enrique. The letter L is pronounced this way when it's alone. It doesn't matter its position in the word. Lobo, flor, español. But when we have 2 L's together, the pronunciation changes, and it has in most regions exactly the same sound that the letter Y, because Y is only pronounced like Y latina when it is alone or at the end of a word. Hoy estoy muy bien. ¿Y usted? Hoy estoy muy bien. ¿Y usted? So, how do we pronounce double L and Y? Well, it depends on the region. In Rio Platense variety, for instance, we use the sound sha. Yo ayer comí pollo. When you hear that sound in Spanish, it means that the speaker is from Argentina or Uruguay. This is the most remarkable characteristic of this variety. Che, ¿qué comiste ayer? ¿Yo? Ayer comí pollo. In other regions, double L and Y are pronounced like I. Yo ayer comí pollo, ¿y tú? Yo ayer comí pollo, ¿y tú? And there are more varieties in the middle, softer than sh, but stronger than I. And there are regions where they even make a distinction between double L and Y. But I think that if you learn one sound, it would be okay. In Spanish, we say la H es muda. We just don't pronounce this letter. Sí. Hospital. Huevo. Hamaca. Why do we have a letter that we don't pronounce? Well, originally in Latin, it was pronounced like fa or something similar. That's why other Romance languages like Italian or Portuguese use F in words in which we use H. I'll give you some examples in Portuguese. Oven, horno, forno, ant, hormiga, formiga. Do or make, hacer, fazer, smoke, humo, fumo. To speak or to talk, hablar, falar. Ahora hablo horrible portugués, but I'm learning. La H es muda, pero when we have it after a C, we pronounce the sound ch. Chocolate, China, chiste. The word H contains both uses. H. When it's not followed by H, the letter C can be pronounced as S and Z or as K. It is pronounced like S and Z when it is followed by the vowels E or I. Cerveza, cielo. Take into account that this is valid for the vast majority of Spanish speakers, but not for all of us. In some parts of Spain, they use the sound F, like we do in English in words like think, instead of sa. This is called cefeo. It could be something like, hay un zoológico cerca de mi casa, or something like that. In other parts of Spain, they make a distinction and pronounce fe, zeta, but s. Hay un zoológico cerca de mi casa, or something like that. But in other parts of Spain and in all the Latin American countries, we never use the sound fa, only sa. Hay un zoológico cerca de mi casa. Exactly like that. As said, we pronounce C like S only when it is followed by E or I. In all the other possibilities, it's pronounced like K or Q. Clase, comer, carne. ¿Cuántos kilos quiere? K, K, K. ¿Cuántos kilos quiere? Exactly the same sound. Notice that the letter Q is always followed by U, and this U, it's not pronounced. ¿Qué? ¿Quién? You can find two Cs together, but the case is different from L and R because the sound doesn't change. You just pronounce the first C as K and the second one as sa. Lección, traducción, accidente. So, la doble C is pronounced like X. Texto, sexto, taxi. The letter G can be pronounced in two different ways. And again, the sound changes when it's followed by the vowels E or I, like it happens with the letter C. In these cases, we pronounce like J. La gente como Juan no va al gimnasio. La gente como Juan no va al gimnasio. In all the other possibilities, the sound is ga.
Ganaste un gato.
Gracias. In words like guitarra or guerra, that U is silent. Just like when it comes after a Q. ¿Qué guitarra? ¿Qué guerra? If that U weren't there, these words would be pronounced guitarra and guerra. Ga, ge, gi, go, gu. Ga, gato. Ge, guerra. Gi, guitarra. Go, gota. Gu, gusano. Are you still with me? Okay. So, you must be thinking, Fede, if Spanish is a phonetic language, this word should be pronounced pinguino. I'm sure you weren't thinking about that. But this is interesting. The word pingüino is written with 2 dots over the U to tell us we have to pronounce that letter U. This is called diaresis. So, hi, gi, gui. Hi, gimnasio. Gi, guitarra. Gui, pingüino. Ge, ge, gue. Ge, gente. Ge, guerra. Gue, cigüeña. I told you I decided to include the letters S and Z, and now I'll tell you why. It's very common in Spanish to change the sound sa when it comes before a consonant. Look at this word, isla. Isla. We don't say isla, but it doesn't disappear completely like you do in English. Tell me if I'm wrong. I believe a native English speaker would say island or something like that. The sa sound is completely removed. Island. In Spanish, the S is pronounced, but much softer. It is called S aspirada, and it is represented with this phoneme. Estar, escalera, mosquito. Estar, escalera, mosquito. This is funny because most of the Spanish speakers are not aware they are doing this. And if you ask them to pronounce these words, they would probably overpronounce them. Estar, escalera, mosquito. But they would never pronounce like that in real life. Aspirar. No, nunca aspiro las heces. The same happens with the letter Z. Durazno. Durazno. And when the S sound is at the end of the word, and the next word starts with a consonant. Tres gatos y dos elefantes. Tres gatos y dos elefantes. Can you hear? I changed the pronunciation of the first S, the one which is followed by a consonant, but I pronounced stronger the second one before the vowel. Tres gatos y dos elefantes. Tres gatos y dos elefantes. Ahora te dejo la chapa. No te olvides de suscribirte, tocar la campanita, dar like y dejarme un comentario. Chao.